So who of you is familiar with the Fedora project? Okay. Who of you knows Red Hat as a company? Okay. So the Fedora project is the upstream project for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And it's a very large open source software project to produce a Linux distribution. And we have around 25,000 contributors. And within this large project, there's a small group of people, with 3 people who are producing the Fedora Security Lab. On the other hand, we have another security lab, which is for the ISICOM. The ISICOM is the short word for Institute for Security and Open Methodology. They are supported also by the University La Salle, and they are located in Barcelona, Spain. I produce an OSTEM lab for them with some customization we cannot have in Fedora. I will talk about that later. The license, the ISICOM OSTEM lab is released as a Fedora remix. So it's a modified version, so it's not Fedora. And you can have the link after the talk of the prototype. It's a prototype talk, right? So it may break your system. So if you install it, don't do it on your regular machine. Yeah, nowadays we need compliance as well. So to make clear, I talk about for both projects here, but the projects are independent. So that's pretty important. And I needed to point to the trademark signs. So I've showed them to you, so now we are compliant. The idea started in Bangalore in 2009 on FOSS.in. I was invited by the Fedora community India, and I thought, okay, if I go there, I have to bring them something new. And I picked up the idea from Adam Miller, who made a security lab based on Fedora just for his purpose. And I thought, okay, this is a good idea because he didn't follow the approach other security labs followed, just to put all the security tools in it. He only put tools in it, only one tool for the purpose, and the best tool for the purpose. So that's the idea behind it. And our task was to pick up that idea because it was no longer developed. And we started building up the infrastructure inside the Fedora project to host the whole project and to take the contribution that we get from the outside. So if I say we are 3 people, that's only the core team. So of course, every Fedora contributor is also a contributor to the Fedora Security Lab because we cannot deal with all the packages, of course. Yeah, the first big milestone that we achieved was that we became approved official Fedora security spin. Spin means all the official releases that are different from the, I would call it GNOME spin. I know it's not compliant to say that, but if you get the normal Fedora, you have GNOME desktop on it. But we were really proud to become an official part of the Fedora family with the Fedora security spin. And we are since Fedora 13. And I think the last 2 releases had not much progress, and so the NullCon was a good incentive for me to work on it and to put new features up and to invent some new things for it. We also had some obstacles to solve. I'm not sure if is there someone who follows the Fedora mailing lists? Hands up, nobody? Okay. There was I will not call it flame war, but there was a lot of emails discussing including SQL Ninja into the Fedora Security Lab. And the Fedora board rejected SQL Ninja first because they had to, they had to put it up to Red Hat legal and Fedora legal to check if it's okay to include it. So compliance always slowing down the process of development. And yeah, of course, we also have some obstacles with licensing. Fedora is very strict, which is good in the licensing. So only real open source licenses are included in Fedora to just give the a safety to the contributors so they cannot get sued by giving out Fedora. So they are very careful with that, but it slows me down, and this was also one reason to create the OSTEM lab. And yeah, it's only 2 weeks ago that Pete Herzog, the founder of the EasyCom, announced the OSTEM lab as an official Linux distribution for the EasyCom. Now it's a live system at the moment. We do not know where the path will going. I have a lot of ideas, and we look for contributors to make it better. But also, we look for contributors who help us to make a transition from the OSTEM lab into the Fedora project, because we know in the Fedora project the process is slow, but this doesn't mean it cannot end up someday in Fedora. This is the long-term goal. Yeah, we have some new features in the current version. I will show them to you. And if you like, please approach me after the talk. You get a link from me for the current build, and you can download it and test it. Yeah, of course, I also think these 2 days are an opportunity to maybe brainstorm a bit with you, and yeah, just take your input to make just a better thing. So what I tell here is not for getting money. I want to say that again. It's just because I burn for this topic. So what is a security lab in general? So most of you know Backtrack or other security distributions. Slacks was in the past, or Helix was a very famous forensic security distribution live system. Yeah, the base, the Fedora Security Lab and the OSTEM Lab are the same. But we tried to have I'm sorry. So, yeah, our approach was to have a testing and teaching platform. We wanted that students who mostly have Windows on their systems are able to get security taught in a safe way, so they can just pull a live USB stick into their laptop and can just start the system, and with the overlay on the USB stick they are able to install software, they are able to update their system, they are able to store all the files that they collect during their security tests, to write their reports. This was the goal, and yeah, to of course include the Fedora features we have in Fedora, and yeah, to have it fast. So it even runs on an old PC, on a one laptop per child. I know you know the project One Laptop Per Child, yes? Only a few. Okay, this is a project from the MIT to give poor children access to the internet, to invent new ways teaching people. So it's most in the third world. So, okay, I show you some stuff. Okay. So I don't have it on a USB stick, because if I would boot my USB stick, it would be a long way to come back to the presentation. So I just started as a virtual machine. So we have all the new features from the current Fedora 17 release for this build. But as you see on the generic 17, it's a Fedora remix, so we had to remove all the Fedora trademarks from it to be legally safe or compliant. Okay. it's up and running. So I just show you I give you a short introduction to the menu structure. So as you see, it's the LXDE desktop. It's very lightweight. And of course, we have some artwork on it. So I'm pretty sure that we take contribution to make this also a bit nicer. I made it by collecting the EasyCom artwork they have and put it together. So if you want to contribute artwork, I'm open for that as well. Yeah, okay, we have tools for code analysis. So how much are coders here in the room who really do code? Okay, 20%, yeah. So these are tools where you can measure the attack surface of your C code, as example. I'm not smart enough to show this to you right now because I do not really code into assembly or in C. I just put stuff together. As I said before, I just do things as I think they can work, and this is the result. So, yeah. Then we have a lot of forensic tools, but I know there are a lot more new tools that should be included fast. So I'm a big fan of the Foremost file carver, which was developed by the FBI in the past. I don't know, who knows Foremost? 1, 2? Okay. I think it's a pretty cool tool, even if it's, let me see, even if it's from, is there a date? From 1999. So if you see, it's made by the US government, and so we can go to the legal issues as well. So if it's for the government in the US, they cannot put it under copyright protection. So they put it on an open source license, and because this applies also to Fedora, we can have it here. So just to show you the Foremost. So Foremost is a file carver to retrieve files from broken hard disks or USB sticks, file systems. So it can read file systems in RAW, so it's a pretty good tool. I love it. There is also an offspring, Scalpel, which works the same and is a bit faster. But I still stay with Foremost for rescuing data. Of course, we have all the some of intrusion detection. We excluded Snort because Snort was too big for us and also not real a use case while teaching students. So we excluded it, and but we have always the opportunity to make just yum install Snort, and you have it. So it's not final, so you always can install software afterwards. I skipped the OSTEM part because I come back to that later. Yeah, we have password tools. Also here, I think there are a lot more out there which we should include. And here is, as well, we want to have these tools in Fedora. So if you want to contribute here, I would suggest go the Fedora way, and it will also end up here in the OSTEM lab. I just want to show one tool. This is Medusa. It's a tool to make brute force on a lot of password brute force, password guessing attacks on a lot of interfaces, as you can see. So I think I like this tool. Then you see we have a lot of surveillance tools which do the interaction part. I come to that later, how a security test is performed according to the OSTEM. And I have no internet here, so I prepared a little fake demonstration, so it looks like I do it, but I don't do it. So you can see it, it's okay, or is it too? You see the screen? Yeah, okay. So we start with DNS enumeration. I think the most of you can write this in 10 minutes. At least I could in Bash. So I think this program is not a problem. DNS enum, I just make it for the Fedora project. And you can also do brute forcing hosts inside a DNS domain. So just to show you what you can do with it. And you see he just gets the public data, and after that he just starts brute forcing by guessing host names, what other hosts are out there. So this is very good to measure the attack surface of a domain, and mostly behind the domain is a legal entity. So if you are a focused hacker, you want to go for one goal, then it's pretty good to make a good surveillance first. The next one, which we have included in the OSTEM lab, which is not in the Fedora lab, is the Harvester. It was reshaped, I think, for the last Black Hat conference, and so I included it very fast, because I think it's also a nice tool to make, a grinding for social networks and the internet. So you can actually look for people, look for information in social networks, in public available databases. And I also do this for the Fedora project, because public hacking is always bad, because you always have a victim, and I don't do that. So you see a lot names here listed. And of course, every name is also, in Germany, we are very strict with the privacy law. So if you have a surname and last name, then you have, and you put another identification signal on it, then you have really to protect this. So I just do this also with the PGP keys for the Fedora project. I think this is a flaw in the Fedora project, because you can very easily gain user accounts through this method for people who uploaded their PGP key to the servers. I did it myself, so but we see we have a lot of names, and every name before the email address is a potential user account. So it makes the first step for password guessing a bit easier. But no problem, because we work together with SSH keys and such stuff, so I think it's safe to put up the PGP key. So we see 350 people were found here with just a single line of code. Not really code, it's just a program. So we have, of course, all the Swiss knives like Nmap, the Superstar programs. One program that we also have in Fedora, and where I'm proud of that my government contributes to open source software. You see, it's the Federal Office of Information Security. So in the keynote, there was a question, who is in charge in India for information security? So in Germany, we have this, and they do a pretty good job. They even opposed to the government if the government makes wrong decision with compliance. I come to that later. So Skeppy is one of my favorite tools. Skeppy is a network stack in application level. So you can just do all the stuff what you can do in the networks just in this program, and you can have, I show a trace route here, and you can pretty fast visualize it by putting it to some libraries, and you also can see what answers you got. So this is an IC unreachable, you get your SYN-ACK, so you see exactly what the system is responding. And if you like, as I said, you can have it also in a fancy way, and you can use it for your test reports to say, okay, this was my attack vector, and this is my test scope, and this is what I found, this is the attack surface. So I think it's a good tool. But this is only lesser than 10% of all the tools. So, but I just want to show some of my favorites. Okay. Of course, we have. I had to include that, but we discussed packaging Metasploit. Who of you know Metasploit? Okay, much more. So Metasploit is an exploiting platform which has pretty fast reactions on exploits or zero-day attacks, and we have it. We don't have it in Fedora because no one wanted to package it. I think it's probably because they change the code very often, and I don't think it makes much sense to package something every day and put it up for update. Prasad, I am not sure if you want to take it up. Yeah, so I made it a bit quick and dirty. I just made a Metasploit install on it, so you just make an SVN sync and you have it on your system. I put all the libraries that you need for it. So Ruby is the base. I put it up and it will run. So, okay. Let's go back to the talk. Where is it? Okay, I think I need to speed up a bit. Possible benefit for the Fedora project. Why should the Fedora project sponsor my flight to come here if I talk about the OSTEM lab? Because we want, of course, in the long term, all the features that we have in the OSTEM lab, we want to have in the Fedora security lab. We also got very cool upstream programs that we packaged and put into Fedora. And it's always good to work together with upstream. And yeah, of course, we want also to implement the methodology. There are some obstacles with the licensing at the moment, because, as example, Scare is listed as a program to make code audits, which is put under CC by Node-REEFs, and we don't allow software with CC by Node-REEFs in Fedora. We allow content CC by ND in Fedora, so that's sometimes a bit difficult. The benefits for the EasyCom and the OSTEM, of course, are there, and yeah, you see it runs on an old PC. This old PC is what I talked about before, to give poor children access to the internet, and it's a pretty cool project, and it runs Fedora. So I think it's a very large install base of Fedora with these laptops. The OSTEM team has the benefit that Fedora contributors package their upstream programs into a very famous distribution. And they have, on the long term, a platform to teach the curriculum. And yesterday, I changed my presentation because I'm now allowed to announce the Hacker High School Security Awareness for Teens, the Hacker High School program. If you like, I can show you the curriculum. It's not ready for publishing yet, but I got the information. It will get published to the public, and everyone will be able to teach it. And our goal is, of course, to enable also people in India to teach this program. There is a small fee, around $150 per year, to give you access to a system where you always have access to the newest changes in the curriculum. So for nonprofits, it's a very low price, I think. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that we EasyCom people are ready to come over and enable you the first time and help you teaching security awareness for teens. Okay, so to speak about the real need for the OSTEM lab, was the one part was the licensing obstacles, but we also wanted to have it as a teaching platform, as I said before, so we needed also to implement the philosophy behind the OSTEM. So what we face in security today is How much people are here from the security industry? How much people are here from the security solution industry? Okay, not so much. So I hope I do not embarrass too much people now. The concepts we see today in security are mostly taken from concepts in the physical world, like multiple firewalls, segmentation. Yeah? This is taken from physical security, defense in depth, which might not work in the cyber world. So we have to rethink the concepts, and we don't have to believe the security solution industry because, of course, they want to sell us their product again and again and again. So we need concepts to solve this problem. We have another thing. I'm not sure if this is in India the case, but in Europe it is, and in the US it's as well. Compliance produces very often very strange things like this. So this sign makes no sense, but companies spend money on it. So, and even companies spend money on compliance audits who check if this sign is put up or not. So this is just a guess, but what I see, if I'm not a non-profit contributor, I'm a security consultant, and what I see in my day work is that companies spend more money on being compliant to something instead on protecting something. Mostly they do not even know what their information assets are and how much the need for protection is. So I think compliance can be a real threat for security. So because if you are not compliant, you cannot go for your operational business. So if you don't pass the audit, the vendor will not work together with you. So it's a real threat. So I think this is a balance act that you have to make as a CEO, which is very, very complicated. This refers also to the keynote. That's completely right with this oil. Yeah, a CEO really needs to think first on the operational business. This comes first. Security comes second. So you also see, because this talk is recorded, I had to put some stuff up because I'm not sure if it would be not recorded, the Indian laws would apply. So if it will get uploaded to YouTube or somewhere, so German law will apply. So then I don't want to get sued. So that's the reason for this ugly black blocks. So normally you would see some trademarks of some famous social platforms. You would see some mobile phones, and of course what you see is the Fedora cloud. So these are the hypes that we got sold today, and of course the security solution industry sells us cloud security. They sell us antivirus for our mobile phones. They put up new ways to protect social media, like social media scanning. That's very famous in Germany at the moment, that companies offer this as a new service. But as you saw before, we do this since 20 years, or I do this since 20 years. Before I start a security test, I do the surveillance first, and this is pretty much what the social media analysts are doing. So how much time I cannot see you because the light is so bright, so how much time do I have? 10 minutes? Oh, okay. Okay, so really important is know your tools. The OSSIM does not apply only to the OSSIM lab. You can also do it with your Windows tools. If you know them and you like them, just do it. But if you do it, you have to know some values. The test should be reproducible. So, because if the other person is doing the test, it should get the same result. It should have a metric, so you can compare the result. It should be neutral. Yeah, I'm an ISO 27001 lead auditor as well, and I think the British standard is not so bad. We also have a German standard which is called ISO 27001 after baseline protection manual, which is this thick in paper. So I think it's really important that there is an open standard behind it to get unbiased results. And of course, also the gardener has to be aware of security. And a strange thing is this picture was taken in Bangalore 2009 on Foss.in, and I was on the one side of the building and talked with Leonard Pöttering about some stuff that will happen in the future. And on the other side, this guy cut the grass with a little knife. So this was a very strange experience for me. So he speaks about the future and he lives in the past, but he also needs to know what the test result is, maybe, I don't know. But a CEO needs to understand the test report. Most CEOs don't care if they have to upgrade their security protocols. They just care, okay, what is the result? What is the result for my operational business? What do you think should I do to change that? Yeah, and mostly how much does it cost me? This is not written here, but of course this is also a question. So you only can achieve that if you not only look to cybersecurity. Of course, you also have to look at physical security, human security, spectrum security, or what is wireless or what you can see. In communication, telecommunication security, data network security, perimeter security in the physical security. So that's really important. And for the testing, of course, you need to know from which vector is the attack and which scope you want to test, if you want to measure it, as example. Then you need, of course, a test path, so the test is comparable. Then I introduced the surveillance part, so this is the induction what we do. If we want to rob a bank, we don't, some people they just walk in and try to rob the bank, but they will not get much money, or maybe they will get caught in the act. So normally you should go and try to figure out how the building is built, where the rooms are, and where the second door is, as example. And you should do an inquest. So you should hang around the bank or before the bank and look what happens, what people are there, and such stuff. So if you, I see some people write down what I have here. This is open source. You can go to ostem.org and download it, and you can all have it. Okay, then you have the interaction part. The interaction part is this what mostly is done by the so-called penetration testers. They just do the echo process. They send a signal, get an answer, analyze it, put it in a database. Oh, the database knows this answer, and then, oh, this could be a threat. Yeah, it's not very proper, right? So we also need to do an intervention. So we maybe should send a signal that is not made for this purpose and see how they react. So you have this in real life. So there are so much people who can trick other people by lying at them. That's the intervention. So, and of course, if you go for standards, you need a common sense how things work, and this is what the OSTEM also applies, that you know if you speak about a pen test, which is not really a pen test if you do it according to the OSTEM, because we do much more at just pinpoint one flaw or error that we have or vulnerability. To quantify security, you need also to know what is your porosity, what is your attack surface. So the OSTEM knows the concept of separate the asset from the threat. And this is what an attack surface is, right? You try to put stuff in the safe to separate it from the threat. So sometimes you cannot separate. You have to be operational. You have to go out. You have to have an attack surface. If you want to provide access to a web server, you have to do that. So what's then? Then you have controls that you can put up. I come to that later. So the porosity is visibility of a target. Then how much accesses it has, like a house with a door and windows and such stuff. And very important, trust. Trust is very important because with the new hypes that we have today, we need concepts to deal with the hypes of tomorrow we cannot even think of now. So, of course, we have controls. In the OSTEM, we have 10 controls, which are always the same, and they can apply to every known, I see a white thing, it's 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, controls. Limitations. Limitations apply to vulnerabilities in the asset, but also to the security controls you have. We don't test, we do not test only the vulnerabilities in the asset, we also test how good are your security controls. Are there flaws or errors? So if there are flaws or errors in your class R controls, it's a weakness. In your B controls, it's a concern. So we can put it down in a calculation sheet, and I think this is the right moment to just show you, okay, you can compare things. This is our actual real results that I got the last 5 years doing security tests. And I'm pretty happy that the military has a very high security rate. And what is pretty important here, that you can have 100% security here, but you cannot be 100% risk-free. That's the important part here. So risk is very dynamic. Even if you are in India, risk becomes a complete new meaning. So you have apes that steal phones, you have apes that go into buildings and open doors from the inside. A European risk manager would never think of that if he builds a building. So, okay. I make it quick. So we have the OSTEM itself on it, of course. Now I have to jump. So for the person who wrote down, before you find all the stuff that you wrote down here, and also with a description. For the mathematicians, you also find the formulas for the math. It's mathematics, right? Yeah. Let's see. So how it's defined, and now you see the formulas. They are pretty. They just count, and the attack surface is something wrong. Not really, because we don't rate, we don't do risk management, but it reduces your security. Controls increase your security, and limitations decrease it. That's the trick behind these formulas. So for the mathematicians. Okay, then one last important part I want to talk about. Normally I plan to show you how I measure a case by robbing a bank with this calculation sheet. You also can download it, but if you like, you can approach me after the talk. Then we can do it. What I want to talk about, which I think is really important, is trust. People are very bad in trust. Otherwise, trick thieves would not be so successful. So we need to quantify trust. So the ECOM came up with the latest OSTEM with so-called trust properties. And trust properties help us to measure the level of trust we put into something. Normally, you also see these ugly black blocks. I do this with a mobile app to show people, to make them aware what a mobile app can do to their phone. We do a lot of work to figure out new zero-day exploits, how to exploit tools or phones or systems, but mostly it's not needed because we get these apps every day and they tell a lot about us. And normally I show it on one use case in a closed room, not if it's recorded. So, but important thing I want to show you is if an app tells you system tools retrieve running applications, would you download it, really? Or would you feel uncomfortable if I start to take photos of you if I stay here? Yes, you would maybe. But be aware that you are recorded here in the hotel as well. So that's that's a real valid security control. It's called non-repudiation. So if you walk in, someone need to know, okay, this guy was here, especially if it's a public building. As I also saw in India, what we see, the security controls, they are not really effective if you really they don't check you very thorough or very proper. It's just a theater to show power and security. So I have no meaning. I do not know what I should think about that. I'm not sure. Okay, back to the quantify security. This metric is not ready yet. It's made by the Lab 106. It's also ISOCOM contributor, and they work with the RACA method, remove, apply, count, average. So they put percentage behind the trust properties. And the trust properties, like size, how many trusts do you have, then the symmetry, is it a one-side trust or to both trust, and I have to, you are hungry, I hear, so I have to stop the talk. Just a last call, if you want to contribute, we have our contribution platform in the Fedora hosted infrastructure, so it's part of the Fedora project, and yeah, you can find all on the internet, the links are here, and I'm pretty sure that the talks will provide it on the Nalcon side. Thank you. Sorry.